Hi everyone! Hello everybody! Welcome to the live stream. I'm gonna put on my headphones. Welcome everyone, welcome everyone. Hopefully you like the intro. I'm gonna do more fun intros. So yeah, that was fun. I love that song. I've been listening to it on repeat, but thank you so much for coming. It is Thursday, July 24th, and it's 4 p.m. Central Time on a very rainy Illinois day. The electricity already went out twice right before I started the live stream, so I expect it to probably go bye-bye soon. But yeah, even if this is a short stream, welcome everyone. I'm super excited to get into the news. Today we're going to cover all the stuff we didn't have time to cover on Tuesday. There's a bunch of sustainable fashion news that we shall get into, a lot of environmental related initiatives, and touch on some social justice news as well. I'll be on from 4 to 7 p.m. Central Time, and I'm going to use this handy dandy Canva over here to keep track of what we're going to talk about. So first, there has been some major heat waves in garment worker factories, unfortunately, in Bangladesh, which has caused a lot of health issues. So we're going to get into that. And then there has been some money laundering in Louis Vuitton stores, which is odd if you think about how prestigious the brand is. And then we're going to talk about other stuff like the return of Manchester Fashion Week, which I'm super excited. It is sponsored by Eco Age, which is a long-standing organization fighting for sustainable fashion. But yeah, welcome to the live stream, everyone. I'm Ellie, and I go live Tuesday and Thursday if you're new. I did promote this live stream a bit more heavily today. Hopefully I can actually have a good live stream, but if it is raining and thundering and the electricity goes out, that will be the end for me, but that's fine. I'm optimistic, though, that nothing will happen. But I always use this Canva deck, so if you can't stay for the whole 3 hours, use this Canva deck. It's free. You get to look at all the news that I compiled here today for you. I always have this, so feel free to always look at the description as a resource. And you can feel free to support me by following me or doing some browsing on my Depop or eBay. And you can also watch this live stream on Twitch and or YouTube, depending where you're at. So I'm multi-streaming right now. But yeah, super excited to get into it. Okay, so to explain how it happens, basically I'm a very structured person. I'm never just like talking shit and then like moving on without having no real structure. That's like the opposite of who I am. Like I'm always very intentional about what I talk about. I always have like a game plan. So if you are ever curious about how this functions and you want to like jump in certain moments, trying my best to stay to this. So basically at 4:10 I always start to talk about like sustainable fashion, and then at 5, if you jump on 5 p.m. Central Time, I always take a break. So you'll never find me yapping in that around that time. And then later on, that's when I get into like more ego stuff, more social justice issues. But I try to have like a positive lens to things. So that's that for 5 p.m. Central Time. And then I do like fashion shows, and then have some like fun stuff at the end. But yeah, I don't live stream a lot, just twice a week. And today we shall get into it. If you ever want me to talk about anything, I do check the chat, but I kind of forget about it. So if you want me to really pay attention to something, you can fill out the community submission form on my website. It's also a link in the description. So if you ever want me to like discuss something that I've missed, because there's so much going on and I can't find everything and anything possible under the realm of the internet and the world, just fill this out for me and I'll take a look at it and see if I shall cover it in next week's live stream, so Tuesday. But yeah, getting into personal updates. Like I've been saying, I'm based out of Illinois. This camera is so zoomed in. I've actually been thinking about getting a new camera for live streaming. This one is a Logitech camera that costs like $50, which is still pretty expensive, but as you can tell, it's kind of like blurry and it's not even that zoomed in. I can try to fix it, but that's just how the camera naturally is. It's pixelated, and I have the best lighting. I have like 3 lights on me, and the background lights are just like ridiculously bright, so my room is like flashing color and like lights everywhere, and yet it still kind of looks pixelated. So it's just like the quality of the camera that's not really giving us the 1080p that I need. Instead, it's like a 480 or like less than that, which I don't like. And it makes the live streams look a lot cheaper. So sorry if you don't like the camera. I don't like the camera, that's why I'm talking about it. But I think within a month or so I'll get a new camera just to make it a bit more better quality. But personal news wise, I haven't like really been doing much besides applying to jobs. I was going to be a seamstress for a casino, and then I was like, wait, I haven't sewed in like the past, what is it, 3, 4, 5 years? Like, how am I supposed to fix the uniforms of people if I don't even know how to sew? Is this audio okay? Okay, yeah, the audio's okay. So I canceled the interview for that after applying, and I was like, that was a bad decision. Why would I want to be a seamstress for a casino if I don't even know how to sew pajamas? Like, I'm fine experimenting and doing my own projects. I'm sure, like, that's fine. I can do it. It's just, it takes me forever to do one thing. Oh my god, there's spiders on the wall. Why are they coming out when it rains? Oh, that's eerie. But I just need a lot of time to, like, work on a project. And I just didn't think, like, having a job in that was, like, good for my skill set. That's like very limited. I don't have good sewing skills. So anyways, yeah, that was something I was dealing with today and yesterday as well. Just kind of grappling with like those jobs. But I did apply to another job to be like a gym receptionist, and I will have an interview next week. So slowly improving my applications. I've been writing bios and writing skills down, tailoring all the resumes as you should in this terrible job market, and it's kind of getting me somewhere. I'm also going to be applying to be a preschool teacher. Probably will get that because I used to be a teacher and have a lot of experience in children. I used to be like a mentor for big brothers, big sisters. I almost said that like a question. I have experience in children. But yeah, I do have a lot of experience. I was just kind of thinking like, why I even had that experience. I just did a bunch of stuff when I was in college, and now it's like benefiting me. But like, if you had asked me why I was doing all that stuff back in college, I have no idea why I was doing all that stuff. I was just overambitious for no reason. But yeah, nothing much really. I went to the mall yesterday though to get some pretzels, some cinnamon bits from Auntie Anne's, which is so delicious. I had been thinking about getting them for a month, and I finally got them. They were $8, which is so overpriced. That's why I was thinking about it so much. I rarely spend money on snacks. I rarely spend money on anything, to be honest, because I don't have a lot of money. And what else did I do? Oh, I got some Mexican food snacks for my dad, whose birthday is tomorrow. He's turning 60, which is old. So those are the two things that I bought from the mall. There was a lot of temptations. There was like a Hello Kitty Exo plushie doll that I wanted so bad because I'm obsessed with Exo and I love Hello Kitty. Did not get it. I did not get it, which I'm sad. It was $16 though. When did plushies cost so much? Oh my god, I look so tired. I'm getting old. I'm almost 30. 2 more years and then I'm 30. Can you believe it? Even though I look kind of 18, 19, 20. But yeah, that's kind of it. That's what has been happening. Yes. But, oh, I did release a podcast episode yesterday called, what was it called? Gentrification, Against Gentrification. I don't even remember what I do half the time. Like, I think a lot of people perceive me as, like, being very organized and very put together, and half the time I have no idea what I'm doing. And I forget what I do, like, immediately. But what was what I did yesterday? Okay, so it says Mexican protests against gringo gentrification. I worked on this script for like weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and then I filmed it this Monday. I edited it all on Tuesday, and then I uploaded it on Wednesday, and I just completely forgot what I said. I had no idea what I was saying most of the time, but it was just coming from my experience of a Mexican American who like doesn't agree with like what's happening in Mexico in terms of like the tourists coming in and displacing like the locals. It wasn't that shelled out. It was like 22 minutes compared to other podcasts I've had. It was a very short one, but it was just like me just spewing my thoughts on a script I took forever on. But yeah, I'm gonna slowly improve my podcast, but we'll get there eventually. I'm getting better at the thumbnails, so a win is a win, right? I just spieled out something I wrote a long while ago and I just edited it. So I'm trying to have more fun, trying to like not overthink things and just do stuff, I guess. And I reached 400 subscribers, which is crazy. I feel like it's taking me forever to get here, but like I think it's enough numbers for me because I'm still learning and I don't want to be like huge, so I like the number. 400 is cute. Okay, so going into the news, I do want to talk about this. This has been worrying me because I saw it this morning and it's crazy how there's so much health issues in the fashion industry. So I kind of resonate with this in some level, not personally, but through my parents who work in factories in a frontline city. And so they often work for like monopolies or like major brands, right? And they often suffer heat strokes. Someone on Twitch asked me, hey, do you want to learn German? No. Why would you want me to learn German? No, I'm sorry. No, nothing personal over here, but I don't need to learn German. Okay, so going back to this, okay, so my family have often suffered from heat strokes, so my community suffers from heat strokes as well, because there is no like air conditioning or air ventilation. They don't open the doors, and so their body literally crumbles, and that's not ethical. It's not morally right whatsoever to have people just like keel over basically and die because no one offered to like give them some freaking air or some way to cool down in the name of like, oh, you gotta like make production happen more quickly than ever before. But they're treated like machines essentially. So let's get into what they've discovered in terms of the Bangladesh garment workers. But they have so much clothing on. It's not like they have a shirt on, you know. They're like covered head to toe. I cannot imagine the conditions that they're under. That's so sad. Okay, let's see. I got this from the Fashion Dive, but it's not popping up. Okay, let's go to Fashion Dive. If you don't know, Fashion Dive is such a great site for fashion news where they don't gatekeep it behind paywalls, and I love them for it. Let's see. And they're super up to date as well. Super up to date. Okay, this one was released 2 days ago. This article was released 2 days ago, and it's titled Garment Workers in Bangladesh Report Health Issues Due to Heat. And Laurel, my bestie reporter, is doing God's work. So listen up.
Garment workers in Bangladesh report health issues due to heat. Dive brief. Extreme heat due to climate change is endangering garment workers in Bangladesh, according to a report from Climate Rights International released Tuesday. Information in the report was gathered from interviews with more than 50 workers across what CRI called 3 of the most heat-exposed industries in Dhaka, including the garment industry. Interviewees cited various heat-related health issues including dehydration, headaches, temporary vision loss, chest pain and loss of consciousness. CRI said Bangladesh is among the countries hardest hit by the climate crisis, and added that the country's capital Dhaka is especially vulnerable because it recently experienced record-breaking high temperatures. This year, temperatures in Dhaka reached about 118 degrees Fahrenheit, according to the report. Dive Insight. Conditions for garment workers in Bangladesh have long been a topic of concern among government officials, fashion industry stakeholders and labor interest groups. The country is the second largest exporter of ready-made garments in the world, per data from the Asia Floor Wage Alliance, and the apparel industry represents about 11% of the country's overall GDP. Earlier this year, a group of fashion leaders and fair labor advocates urged the Bangladesh government to improve working conditions in the country's manufacturing industry. Workers in the sector have been advocating for livable wages and better conditions. In addition to workers in the garment industry, CREE.
Wait, I hate how they always make these issues sound so profound so much that I just don't even blink when they're talking about this. They're just going on explaining how, yeah, like, blah 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 percentage overall does this and this and this. But like, they're literally dying from the conditions. Like, if you add summer on top of what they're already experiencing, like, these people are desperate for change and desperate for survival. And that's what pisses me off. And this is why I live stream. Like, we can't just continue talking about things in such a pretty way, in such a, like, professional way. I mean, professionalism has its time and place, right? But, like, at the end of the day, these people are collapsing and dying. And that pisses me off. It pisses me off.
Also interviewed those who work in construction and transportation. The report found that many workers were forced to continue working in extreme temperatures, with CREE noting that this made workers feel confused, desperate, hopeless and anxious. CREE said this resulted in productivity losses, with workers moving slowly and needing 50% more time than usual during the hot seasons. As multinational fashion brands make elaborate climate commitments and develop eco-conscious clothing lines, the garment workers who support their supply chains are collapsing in the heat, Kara Schulte, researcher and report author at Climate Rights International, said in an email. But the impact of climate change on these workers continues to be routinely excluded from corporate ESG frameworks across the industry. If the fashion industry is going to achieve meaningful sustainability, it can't stop at recycled materials and net zero pledges. It has to include the workers that make the industry possible, Schulte added. The report found that a small number of companies have heat protections embedded in their supplier code of conduct, including VF Corp, parent company of Vans, The North Face and Timberland. CREE spoke with workers who claimed their factories supplied a number of brands, including VF, H&M, C&A, Walmart, Primark, and New Look, that are taking at least some steps intended to protect workers from hot workplace conditions, according to a news release accompanying the report. All of those workers told CREE that, despite the measures brands are taking, they continue to suffer in the heat. The report included worker recommendations for improving conditions, including asking the Bangladesh government to strengthen legal protections for health and safety, with heat-specific protections. Recommendations also included addressing the financial risks of heat-related productivity losses and ensuring workers are paid a living wage.
They literally have heat protection laws in their supplier code of conduct. That's so sad. I feel like this is common sense, right? Protect your workers from the heat. Like, shouldn't they have fans and air conditioners? Like, this is basic common sense. Apparently, there's no sense when it comes to making money in a factory. It's just leaving them all to die. That seems what is happening. I was not informed that there is heat protection laws or policies within supplier codes of conduct, which is a whole other nerdy thing to get into in this live stream. Says new rules for heat related protection in the workforce being considered in Colorado. Is this happening in Colorado as well? Oh god, no. What is happening there?
So you think you know Wix? Do you really? First
no.
up,
No ads, please.
For people who work outside. It also means it can be difficult for those working inside a food truck. Your reporter Jasmine Arenas caught up with some of those workers today.
It's warm out here. It's about 90 degrees still, but if you were working, would you be protected? In Colorado, heat-related protection laws are specific to agriculture workers, which is why the Occupational Safety and Health Administration has proposed new rules that could protect workers in other fields. It's lunchtime at Iron Age Barbecue, but inside the truck, it feels like a sauna.
It feels like Texas, yeah.
On this 98-degree Denver day, Ruben Alarcon, a native from Texas, is prepping a meal, feeling all the heat inside his food truck.
We do have an AC unit in here. I have this little thing rigged up so that it can blow the air straight down rather than out across.
For Alarcon, his day starts early, firing up his smoker at 3:30 in the morning to get his brisket ready by lunchtime. He says his experience of being a welder has helped him work through the heat.
You know, if you're welding, then you're working with hot metal all the time, so it just gets hotter and hotter and hotter. So I'm somewhat used to it.
With a struggling generator and limited AC, he relies on hydration packets and help from neighboring vendors.
If I gotta
Wait, we need some hydration packets for the Bangladesh garment workers. He's still complaining even though he has an air conditioner. And he's a... okay. Okay. He can complain. He has an air conditioner though.
go in there to get a little bit of AC, you know, they don't mind me sitting down for a minute.
Under new federal rules proposed by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, protections like shade, water, and break plans would be mandatory for all workers when temps spike above 80 degrees, which is crucial.
Why didn't they interview the construction workers? They don't got AC. Okay, let's go look at heat protections for garment workers. That news bit just pissed me off. They feature someone that has a cozy setup. Why don't they go talk to the construction man? They literally filmed the construction workers though. They could have gone up to them, unless there was some language barrier, but the lady seemed like she was Hispanic, the one that introduced the news bit. I don't know what they did in that episode. Okay. Bangladesh garment workers. Let's actually look at the problem at hand. Exploited garment workers in Bangladesh 8 years ago. Jesus, when is this gonna end? Bangladesh garment industry rebounds amid worker struggles. There's nothing against heat, like, for heat protection. Let's just take away the Bangladesh thing. Oh, Bangladesh garment workers continue to call for better wages at some factories ransacked. Oh my god. If it's not one thing, it's the other, huh? Struggling to survive in the most overpopulated country in the world? Oof. Demand pay in line with inflation. Oof. With the tariffs, man? That is not good news. Okay. Wait, what is this down here? I saw something. My body is burning. Climate change, extreme heat, and labor rights in Bangladesh. 2 days ago. Let's see. No commercials. Blah, blah, blah.
Researcher and author behind Climate. Hi, my name is Kara Schulte, and I'm the researcher and author behind Climate Rights International's latest report, My Body is Burning: Climate Change, Extreme Heat, and Labor Rights in Bangladesh. As part of this research, I spent the last 2 summers living in Dhaka, speaking with workers across the city about the ways in which extreme temperatures are impacting their lives and their livelihoods. I heard from workers that conditions are so hot and so humid that many workers are experiencing vomiting, heart palpitations, even temporary vision loss on the job. Many of the workers that I spoke with had either fainted in the heat themselves or had witnessed a colleague collapse on the job. And a lot of these workers said that it was a pretty regular occurrence. Because workers moved more slowly and worked less efficiently in the heat and ultimately fell sick more often, these heat impacts really affected their productivity. And this ultimately led to a reduction in income, especially for piece-paid workers. So for example,
So they're feigning, they can't work, and they're paid less because they can't keep working. So they're literally being punished because the factory is doing them dirty. That's crazy. Also, someone on Twitch says como underscore pancito. That is such an interesting username. Hehe. Hola. Hi. That is such a different vibe to what we're watching, but hello.
I spoke with one man who said heat-related productivity losses sometimes left him unable to afford food. But what stood out to me the most were the ways in which rampant labor rights abuses across the city were effectively preventing workers from engaging in behaviors to protect themselves from the extreme conditions. So for example, workers told me that when they tried to take short breaks to cool down or to drink water to stay hydrated, that they were met with verbal abuse and even threats. And I spoke with one man who had fallen sick due to heat-related illness. And
Please come back. Error, no data. Error, no data. Sorry, guys. It's coming back. In a minute, it's gonna be back. These glitches are just so weird. For Twitch, if you're on Twitch, you are so good. I think that Twitch is so much more flexible with the internet that is being functioned off of, and then YouTube is like that persnickety older brother that just wants everything to be perfect with the internet. I think you can actually hear me talking if you're on YouTube, even though there says to be an error. But yeah, if there's any glitches, just know that it is raining very heavily in Illinois, and my internet is typically very good, but this week it's just been very bad. I think it's because the end of the month and the plan restarts, I guess, next month. Something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm coming up to my data usage. But so sorry if you get glitches. Just stay put. It's raining. I can't control the internet that much.
he was actually initially fired from his job. The report also
Wait,
documents the way
did she just say that he got fired for having a heat stroke? No.
fired from his job.
Back it
And
up.
threats. And I spoke with one man who had fallen sick due to heat-related illness, and he was actually initially fired from his job. The report also documents the ways in which multinational corporations like international fashion brands and app-based delivery platforms are really complicit in these abuses, and highlights the role that companies operating in and sourcing from Bangladesh need to play in developing an effective solution to this really urgent and complex problem. So I hope you'll take the time to read the report and find out more. Thank you.
She's doing God's work. Oh my gosh. Someone literally got fired for having a heat stroke? That is insidious for whoever fired him. Dang. Lily_Leo says, hey, what's up? We're talking about extreme heat driven by human-induced climate emergency, which is endangering the lives and livelihoods of urban workers in Bangladesh. And Climate Rights International said in a new report published today that inside garment factories and construction sites in the middle of the city streets, workers are fainting, falling ill, and even dying in extreme temperatures with little protection from the government, employers, or multinational corporations that profit from their labor. Hashtag, what the hell? I do want to read that report. I wonder where we can see it. She didn't link it down in the description, which they probably should if they want us to actually, you know, like go to the website and stuff. But I can Google it. It's fine. It's alright. I guess I got the time. I feel for them, honestly. They're being punished for something that's so out of their control. Okay. Found it. Watch video? I think we already watched the video. Full report. Okay, so here is the full report. It's on Climate Rights International. My body is burning. Oh my god, it reaches 104 Fahrenheit in May. Jesus Christ, that's hot. Someone says my body is burning, but still there is no break at all. I have to complete my work. I am suffering in the heat, but I have to do my job. Oh my god, that is the saddest shit I've ever seen in my life. Why do they allow this? Honestly, this is like some evil stuff if you're the factory owner. In Bangladesh, we have commitments, we have protective policies for former sector workers, but in practice, it's not happening. Accountability is not happening. So it's like, yeah, we know we should probably protect our workers, but we're not doing anything to actually do it, says the president of Bangladesh Apparel Workers Federation. Great. Great. Let's listen to some of this, and then we'll kind of analyze what's going on from there.
Summers in Dhaka are unforgiving. Smog and dust cloud the sky, veiling the city in a muted haze. Hot air radiates off a canopy of tightly packed metal rooftops. The humidity is suffocating. Water, gas, and electricity services shut off periodically, sometimes without warning. For tens of millions of people, there is no escape from the oppressive heat. In May 2025, temperatures in Dhaka hit 40 degrees C, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, zero point 0.3 humidity levels that month soared past 91%, and at one point, the heat index, or feels like temperature, reached almost 48 degrees C, 118 degrees Fahrenheit, zero point 0.4 in response to the extreme conditions. Bangladesh health authorities issued an emergency heat advisory urging people to take protective measures and limit physical exertion. 0.5, but for many workers across the city, avoiding the heat isn't an option. Even on the hottest and most extreme days, garment workers toil over steaming irons, trapped inside poorly ventilated, overheated factories. Construction workers carry heavy loads overhead under the midday sun. And rickshaw pullers and delivery riders ferry passengers and cargo back and forth through the city's sweltering streets. For millions of workers in Dhaka, the labor never stops. Among them is Reina, who left her coastal village in rural Bangladesh over 20 years ago in search of the economic promise of urban life. In Dhaka, Reina found work in the textile industry, where she has been working 10 to 14 hours per day, 6 days per week, for the last 18 years.
6 days?
In exchange for her
Jesus.
labor, she is paid roughly 17,000 taka per month, about $140. She is not compensated for overtime. When Climate Rights International, CRI, first met Reina in Dhaka in May of 2024, she was 6 months pregnant with her third child. The heat index that month rose above 38 degrees Celsius, about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, on 23 of 31 days, never once falling below 32 degrees Celsius, about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. 0.6 as heat waves gripped the city. Reina described the unbearable conditions inside the factory where she worked, tasked with the repetitive job of sewing pockets onto hundreds of pairs of jeans each day. 0.7 even in the intense heat. She said she had no access to cooling systems, was given no additional breaks, and that her daily production quota remained unchanged. On a particularly muggy evening in Mirpur, Reina explained to CRI the harmful impacts the heat had had on her body. She recounted experiencing excessive sweating, headaches, vision loss, dizziness, confusion, nausea, vomiting, and urinary tract infections, among other issues. Still, the factory did not provide necessary accommodations to help her manage the heat. Once I fainted. It was the shock of the heat. The line chief and another worker took me to the toilet, and my fellow worker put water on my head and gave me some time to lie down underneath the table. But there is no space to have a break, so I just lie down underneath the table. And after a little break, I started work again. 0.8.
Oh my god, that's terrible. This is so heartbreaking. Almost every day in the hot session in our factory, 5 to 7 people faint. 5 to 7 people just fall down. Oh. When the humidity and the heat are high, it's really difficult to work in the condition. Yeah, so there is something called humidity and warmth that just does wonders for my hair. I've personally felt that in Illinois, where it loves to be humid. So, for example, today, it was 90 degrees technically, but it felt 100 because there was 70% humidity. And that humidity is horrible. It doesn't let you breathe. It's like in your chest, it's in your head. Your skin is like a sponge of skin, basically. You can feel the moisture. It's like the most icky feeling. I hate summer with a passion. I hate it. I hate summer. That's why I enjoyed being in Montana. And maybe that was kind of the core reasons why I was there, because it was so cold and it was not humid. It was a dry state. And like the summer was over within a month. Like it was always cold. It was like fall 24/7 and I loved it. But they can't escape it. Like that lady who was saying that she's been working under these conditions for 18 years, working 10 to 14 hours per day for 6 days per year, makes me feel lazy, but I feel so sorry for her. Like I wish I could like tell her I'm so sorry, even though I've not had anything to do with her conditions. but maybe in a indirect way have by buying fast fashion. Who knows? But to only have $140 made every month from her struggles is literally robbery. Like, people are robbing her life and her well-being for like fast fashion, and she's not even compensated overtime. Girl, 14 hours? I literally have never worked 14 hours in a day. Never. Oh my god, it's thundering out there. It was so humid today. Whoa. And then on top of the humidity, they also get the carpal tunnel syndrome because they're literally sewing the same thing over and over and over again, especially if they're like piece rate garment workers where they're paid by each piece that they sew. So it's beneficial for them to sew very fast, and then their body just gets like trauma from all of that increased rapid motion, you know? They shouldn't be, like, their body can't handle it, and they shouldn't be doing something for so long. Again and again and again and again and again and again and again. The daily production quota remains unchanged. Honestly, these quotas are so unrealistic. And I feel like it's all part of the system. Like, they know they're demanding so much from these workers, and yet they don't reduce the daily production quota. It can be reduced. Factories just don't want to reduce it, don't want to spend money taking care of their workers, and hence you have workers that are experiencing this. This is why I do the things that I do. This is just inhumane. It's inhumane.
On a particularly muggy evening in Mirpur, Reina explained to CRI the harmful impacts the heat had had on her body. She recounted experiencing excessive sweating, headaches, vision loss, dizziness, confusion, nausea, vomiting, and urinary tract infections, among other issues. Still, the factory did not provide necessary accommodations to help her manage the heat. Once I fainted. It was the shock of the heat. The line chief and another worker took me to the toilet, and my fellow worker put water on my head and gave me some time to lie down underneath the table. But there is no space to have a break, so I just lie down underneath the table. And after a little break, I started work again. Point 8. Unfortunately, this type of incident appeared to be the norm in Reina's workplace, as her colleagues, too, struggled similarly in the hot season. Almost every day in the hot season, in our factory, 5 to 7 people faint. 5 to 7 people just fall down. Point 9.
It was just fall down. This 0.9 thing is like messing with me. 0.9 what? Oh my god. The positive in this, though, is that more information is being publicized on this. And it reports that in Bangladesh alone, over 70 million workers annually are exposed to excessive heat at work. And that number is quickly rising. I feel for them, and it's only going to get worse with climate change, honestly. As our planet warms up, the weather just gets worse, and the most vulnerable are often the ones that pay the price first. Oh my gosh. The city that I live in is a frontline city, and it's experienced a lot of heat strokes, and there's a lot of like guidelines and help supported by local activists to workers, but activists can only do so much when factories and companies don't want to ensure that there's like heat protection in the factory, and so there needs to be more laws overall. But let's see. There's nothing on YouTube talking about heat strokes within my city. That's so interesting. Well, we need more education. Seems like no one has been doing the work. No one has been doing the work. Nope. Okay. What's it called? Warehouse Workers for Justice. So even warehouses here in the United States don't even have fans or air conditioning. So if you're complaining that you're in an office job, you should not be complaining. Warehouse Workers for Justice, I think it's called. But I don't even remember. I have the worst memory ever. Warehouse Workers for Justice? I think that's what they're called. Yeah. Perfect. Found it. See? I get there one way or the other, even though my memory's trash. Where is it? 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 Oh, we have a major Amazon factory too in our city. It literally like drank up all our natural water. We had to end up buying we had to buy more water from Chicago because all these factories in our home city are using up all our resources. And then we have to pay the price for it. Our water bill is like $80, even though we don't even use up water like that. Pissed. I'm pissed. Okay, where is it? They had a heat protection thing here once. Or is that my imagination? They don't got no YouTube videos on it, but it's on their website. Let me see. They don't have their website linked to anything? Jesus Christ. Okay. Warehouse Workers for Justice. Our Work. Advocacy. I bet it's under there. Where's the heat stuff? Heat stuff. No, I can't find it. I guess they're not focused on people having heat strokes in warehouses. That's fine. Public health? No. Vaccines? No, that's not it. Dang it. What are y'all doing? They were fighting against Amazon. Distribution. Oh, there's sexual harassment protection. Oh, dang. Okay. Sex. They had a social media post about it. Where is it? I'm going on a tangent over here. I remember seeing something and it's following me. I can't find it. At least they're canvassing. They actually have a very interesting event today for clean air because we also suffer from toxins from truckers that are always coming in. If you can tell anything about this mini segment or derailment, you can say we are fucked as a frontline city. We are dealing with all the issues. We're dealing with all the issues. I tried working for them and they kept rejecting me. I applied like 4 times. So I tried. It's just they didn't want me. So good luck on them. But yeah, I can't find it. I'm not gonna log into Instagram. But yeah, I personally know the struggle. I've seen my parents and my family and my community suffer through heat strokes and lack of heat protection when it should be basic sense protection. And like these workers should be protected in theory. It should be protected. In action it's not. So it's I guess it's a philosophical or intellectual pursuit, I guess, to be like, yeah, we're going to protect our workers and then do nothing about it so you can keep making your money. So okay, just talking to talk. Just talking to talk. But yeah, massive respect for this organization. I've never heard of them. Climate Rights International. About us, our mission. Come on, our mission. We want to build a world that protects people and the planet from climate change. We believe that progress on climate change cannot succeed without protecting human rights, and the fight for human rights cannot succeed without protecting our planet against climate change. Nice. They have blue sky? Oh, they're built different if they have blue sky. Cool. Coolio. Kara Schultz was a researcher. Nice. Good to know. Good to know. Oh, they had a press release. They did a little Zoom moment. Oh, that's cool. Nice. Okay. Well, that's good to know. I do wish they had more extensive YouTube videos on this so we can visually learn about it, because I think it's just very inaccessible when people publish like long articles, because no one is really going to just read this all without losing interest really fast. Maybe put some pictures or something, but very, very, very informative, very informative. But I do think it needs to be more visual and like, I guess, accessible for the public to look into. But yeah, they did their research, so I appreciate that. But to go on and talk about something else, I do want to talk about how Louis Vuitton has been in some very interesting situations because there's been some money laundering in their stores. You wouldn't assume there's like money laundering happening in the most elite stores, but it's happening. It's happening in some Dutch stores, to be specific. So let's listen up. Let's listen up.
The Dutch Public Prosecution Service has named fashion brand Louis Vuitton as a suspect in a money laundering investigation involving around 3 million euros in suspicious cash purchases, the AD reported on Friday. The case centers on a Chinese woman from Lelystad who repeatedly bought luxury goods with large amounts of cash in Dutch stores belonging to the French fashion house, the paper said. The woman allegedly kept each transaction just below the €10,000 reporting threshold, which allowed her to avoid triggering mandatory checks by retailers. Dutch law requires shops to carry out client verification and report cash payments above that amount.
Whoa, 3 million euros on suspicious cash purchases. I feel like this is a movie. A woman allegedly kept transactions just below the 10,000 euro mark. They need to make a movie out of this. This would be such a fun movie to watch. The lady in Dutch who stole 3 million euros from Louis Vuitton. And then you got like your fashion villain. Oh, that would be such a fun movie. All we got in fashion movies is like ditzy girls with no storyline whatsoever. Okay, let's see.
Prosecutors said Louis Vuitton failed to take appropriate steps, such as asking for identification or questioning the pattern of purchases. One staff member is suspected of actively helping the woman structure her payments to stay under the legal limit, the paper said. The woman is accused of sending the products to China via parcel services as part of so-called Daigou trading, a system in which buyers purchase luxury goods abroad to avoid high import taxes in China. The prosecution department said this method is commonly used by criminal underground bankers to launder illicit funds. Investigators believe the suspect received large sums from a convicted underground banker to fund her purchases. The full scale of the Daigou market is unclear, but consultancy firm Rehub estimated its value at over 74 billion euros at the end of 2023.
This sounds complicated. So that she was getting money, and then she was getting help from someone else that was working for her, and then she was sending products to China in a trading system where buyers purchase luxury goods abroad to avoid high import taxes in China. I wonder if she had permission from the brand itself, because all this just sounds weird. Criminal underground bankers. Dang, this would be a good movie. Kind of gives like Batman vibes. Let's see.
The prosecution department now argues that Louis Vuitton made itself too easily available for abuse by failing to scrutinize the transactions. By not acting more firmly, the fashion label may have facilitated the laundering of criminal proceeds. It is not yet known whether Louis Vuitton will face prosecution. The department is still considering whether to take the case to court, and proceedings are not expected to resume until next year, the paper said. Louis Vuitton has not responded to the allegations and was not available for comment, the newspaper said. The company has 4 official outlets in the Netherlands.
Oh my god, this is so messy. It's a messy little situation. I'm curious what actually went down. I need the details, man. I can feel there's so much going on. They gave us a base level T. Now we need the information. Wait, this album looks... You guys know when you see like a cover page or whatever of a album and you know it's gonna be good? I know this album is gonna be good. You didn't search for this album, I found you. Ooh. And it's gonna give me a commercial. Yep, it gave me a commercial. How did I know? Wait, let me listen and then I'll look for the money laundering stuff. I love music so much. I love like indie underground music so much. But you know what I hate? Commercials. Commercials. Okay, let's see. Is it a boo?
We've had was, you know,
It's kind of cool. I would put this in a living room, like background living room music. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. They've done this in the past 1 year ago. This was recent though, so it's happened in the past as well. That's so sad. You can get arrested for buying luxury goods? No. Oh my god, there's a Louis Vuitton store in New York. I thought that was AI. Wait, we gotta watch this. No way. Is it real? This is late stage capitalism. Welcome to late stage capitalism, everyone. To the Louis Vuitton store in New York, New York. 5th Avenue. Wow. They're just showing us a random building? Wait, where's this actual store at? Oh my god, he's making me dizzy. Wow. It's giving late stage capitalism. I feel like this is what you dream of when you think about the American dream. Yes.
Printed on it, Louis Vuitton.
Yes.
Nice, amazing.
Nice. What do you say?
5th Avenue,
You are
57th
here.
Street, New York, near Madison Avenue. Wow.
Wow. To be American. This man is making me dizzy. Oh god. A zoom. A zoom was everything. There's like homelessness still happening, and yet we got this. Wow. Humanity. Why does he keep zooming into everything? Oh my god, he's making me dizzy. Again? Sir, we've seen it already. Saint Laurent. So there's just a street full of luxury brands on 5th Avenue. Oh. Again with the giraffe. He really likes the giraffe. There you go. Don't spin it again, sir. Not the spinning around again. Okay, he's zooming in. Focus on it, brother. There you go. Oh. I feel like he's filming everything except the actual building. He's gonna zoom in 3, 2, 1, and zoom it. Zoom it. Nope, okay. There you go. He didn't zoom it in.
Hello. Hi.
I feel like this reminds me of the Hunger Games. This is District 1 though. He zoomed it in. He's gonna spin around and zoom. There you go. There you go. Spin, zoom. Spin and zoom. I don't think anyone is actually really buying anything. They're just going in to look. Zoom. Zoom. Honestly, the bags are really ugly. I would never buy these bags. Spin and zoom. Oh, they have perfumes? I didn't know they sold perfumes. Oh, imagination. Wow. Late stage capitalism at its worst. Yeah, zoom in there. Louis Vuitton. It must be like $1,000 or more. This man is making me dizzy. Burberry? Someone went to Burberry and then went to Louis Vuitton? Wow, they got money. Spin and zoom it. Look at him. It's literally giving Hunger Games. Oh, they use this suitcase as a display? Interesting. Unnecessary, but interesting. See, I like watching this video because now I don't have to go. I'm gonna get copyrighted with the music in the background, but I like YouTube videos because now I don't have to go, see? Less traction for them. Oh, what is that? Okay, we're gonna exit out of the video, but that's interesting to know. Wow. I wonder why they actually, like, made a skyscraper that looks like a suitcase for Louis Vuitton. I think it's more so in a tourist attraction than anything else, but to go back to the Louis Vuitton store where they had the money laundering thing, which is a totally different vibe, we should probably listen to this and then kind of move on to a different news bit.
You're thinking about going to therapy, and as a therapist myself, of course I'm going to say that's a great...
No. Commercials.
Welcome back to the Fashion Bunker. Mr. Bernard Arnault, the boss of LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moët Chandon, and all that good stuff, Dior, all the luxury, darling, the richest allegedly man in Europe, Bernard Arnault, that's him in front of the Louis Vuitton perfumes. He's apparently in a little bit of trouble at the moment. As reported by Independent magazine, and I quote the title, billionaire, Louis Vuitton owner, Bernard Arnault, and Russian oligarch, let me repeat that, and a Russian oligarch are investigated in money laundering probe. Now let's get into it. But before we do, subscribe to my channel here on the tubes, push the join button next to the subscription button, become a member today, gain access to extra perks. You can also my live chats on the sidebar. Y'all, okay? Just to be very clear. So according to this article, Mr. Bernard Arnault is being investigated over his links to a Russian oligarch. Ooh.
What?
Oh.
Oh my god, it just keeps getting worse. Okay, let's just focus on this one because we're gonna get derailed. Okay, alright. Let's see. Money laundering in Louis Vuitton stores and Dutch stores. Okay, let's see. New York Times.
Louis Vuitton Netherlands entangled in money laundering case. This article is by Claire Moses and Efrat Livni and read by an automated voice. She paid in cash and shopped often. She never spent beyond a set amount, but over about 18 months, the authorities say. This single customer bought millions of euros worth of bags and other luxury goods from Louis Vuitton shops in the Netherlands. Now, Dutch prosecutors are investigating Louis Vuitton Netherlands, a subsidiary of the French luxury brand, in connection with a case against the customer, a Chinese woman who is accused of laundering millions of euros in an international scheme.
No.
Law enforcement officials in the Netherlands say that the suspicious purchasing patterns should have alerted the Louis Vuitton shops to wrongdoing and are questioning whether the company should have raised alarms. It is being investigated for potentially violating money laundering regulations. The case shines a light on the role of luxury goods in financial crime, as well as the reputational risk for brands whose high-end clientele may include people trying to disguise the origins of funds. While fancy boutiques don't have the same obligations to report suspicious financial activity as banks, they do have some legal responsibilities to alert the authorities to some types of transactions. Prosecutors accuse the woman at the center of the case, who has been identified publicly only as Bay W in accordance with Dutch law, of laundering nearly €3 million, $3.5 million, from September 2021 to February 2023. Two other defendants who are said to have helped her are also facing charges. At a preliminary hearing this month, prosecutors said that Bay W received large sums of illicit money generated through criminal activity from an individual who has already been convicted in connection with the scheme. She is said to have spent the cash in several Louis Vuitton stores in the Netherlands, using various names and email accounts. The goods were then sent to Hong Kong and China, prosecutors contend. The shopper always spent just under the €10,000 threshold that would trigger cash transaction reporting obligations, a modus operandi that should have raised eyebrows at Louis Vuitton shops, investigators say. She received help from another suspect in the case who worked at Louis Vuitton and who alerted her when new items arrived that fell within the price range their scheme relied upon, investigators say. Representatives for Louis Vuitton and Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton, which owns the brand, did not respond to requests for comment. Money launderers commonly tailor cash transactions to evade detection by keeping them under a jurisdiction's reporting threshold. In the Netherlands, law enforcement officials consider not just objective indicators of potential illicit activity, like a cash payment above €10,000, but also more subjective factors encompassing numerous conceivable actions and behaviors that may suggest a crime is taking place, according to the country's financial intelligence unit. They expect banks and businesses to report unusual transactions even if they are below the financial threshold, and to have robust risk assessment measures in place. Dutch law is guided by principles laid out by a global watchdog, the Financial Action Task Force, an intergovernmental agency established in 1989 to counter money laundering. Experts say the scheme Louis Vuitton appears to have been drawn into is typical for several reasons. The participants allegedly made use of a surrogate shopping system known as Daigou, in which purchasers abroad shop on behalf of someone in China. The foreign goods are often less expensive abroad, and in the case of luxury brands, less likely to raise concerns about authenticity. But in this case, prosecutors say, the shopping was funded by someone who collected proceeds from criminal enterprises and passed them on to the buyers to be laundered through Louis Vuitton stores. The case was first reported in a Dutch newspaper, Algemeen Dagblad. Oligarchs, kleptocrats, and criminals from around the world have long bought villas, yachts, cars, art, and other luxury goods as both a means to enjoy their criminal proceeds and to move value out of their home country and to otherwise keep it safe, said James R. Richards, who previously led global financial risk management at Wells Fargo. Last year, more than $400 billion was spent globally on personal luxury goods. The use of this market to launder funds is well documented, though just how much has not been quantified. U.S. law enforcement officials have increasingly raised alarms about Chinese money laundering organizations. At a Senate hearing last year, Ricardo Mayoral of the Department of Homeland Security testified that the groups use, quote, complex money laundering schemes to move vast sums of dirty money quickly and quietly for criminal organizations. They rely on underground bankers to collect cash and often actively recruit employees inside businesses for help. Alex Zerdin, who previously worked in the Treasury Department's Office of Terrorism and Financial Intelligence, said the international community had spent the last 5 decades working to address money laundering risks, trying to find a balance between, quote, collecting sufficient financial intelligence information, limiting regulatory burden, and protecting consumer privacy. But the problem persists. Criminals continue to seek out the weak links in the financial system to engage in money laundering, Mr. Zerdin said. The luxury market is not immune from threats.
Wow. That lady knew what she was doing, and she was working with criminal organizations. Wow. 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 You would think that Louis Vuitton, as like this prestigious brand, would have like those precautions or like have a flag of some sort of being like, okay, this is an indicator that something shady is going on, but they didn't. And then to have the help of a worker inside the store to give her deals on like things that were discounted or to help her buy stuff and like just be in communication with her just kind of tells you like maybe there needs to be more training because they're just kind of like feeling way too comfortable in these very expensive stores, and they should in theory be providing elite customer service, right? Like they're supposedly the best out of the best of like retail workers. So I do think that there is, if there is no flags, like there is no like precautions or systems to prevent this going forward, it's going to continue to happen, and it's just going to be a continued system of like abuse for not only the workers to take advantage of things that are happening in the store, but for like the buyers that work with these quote unquote criminal organizations. So I think more internal control for Louis Vuitton within their own retail stores is going to be like really important. And then they have to like take in like some sort of system that can allow them to like investigate possible money laundering situations. So regulations that they think best is something that they need to get on to. I don't know why they've taken their sweet time, or maybe they benefit from this in some way. I don't know why they've been inactive and just being more precautious about this in general, especially because customers spend a lot of money in these stores. They're not dropping $10, they're not dropping $100, they're dropping thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But maybe this was just like a bad employee or like bad thing to happen that was like a one-off. But no, they've said this has happened and it will continue to happen if nothing changes. So maybe retraining employees could be something I could think about. Maybe having more strict HR protocols. I do wonder how the worker got away with this. If there was a manager, like, do they not have managers? So yeah, I find it odd though that this lady was just at it for a long while. Wow. Just buy illegally, man. Oh my god. People just do the most random loophole to get the best deals. People are so funny like that. But yeah, I feel like I don't think the brand itself should be blamed. I think it's just getting more regulation in place would be beneficial, and then giving them some grace, because it was some customer that was doing this, not the brand itself. It's just they were not that strict, I guess, and like making sure they caught it and like remedied it. I cannot say that word. Remedied it. I don't know if that's a word, but $3.5 million. Oh my god, that's crazy. Ugh. But yeah, they do really need some real financial safeguards and some ethical safeguards too, because if a worker has the audacity to do this, they got a lot of freedom in that store. Because when I know my manager's not watching me, I'll be doing whatever. I'll be doing whatever I actually want. But when a manager is there, you're like, oh, I gotta actually do my job and I gotta like act a certain way. But yeah, that's what happened with the Dutch Louis Vuitton store. Interesting. I'll follow up. I am curious about the punishment that this customer will face, if any. But they're accusing the luxury brand though in connection with the customer. So that's very interesting how that works out. Huh. Yeah, I'll definitely will look into this. This is a very interesting fashion legal battle that I'm sure will play out and give us more ideas of like what regulations for luxury brands is needed. Interesting. But I'm gonna go on a quick break, and I'm gonna leave you with some cute music that I found, some Microsoft ambient music, and I'll be right back in 5 minutes. I just found this music like 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes ago. Where is it? Right here. $19.95.
Imagine being able to build.
Oh, these commercials piss me off every time. Move. Okay. Some ambient, nostalgic soundscape of Window 95 retro ambient. Enjoy.
Like YouTube. That's right, no more interruptions, just non-stop streaming on your favorite sites. And while we're blocking ads, why not save some money too? After you add AdBlock, download the Capital One shopping extension and get free automatic coupons and rewards at your favorite stores. I have both extensions added to my computer, so I also get free automatic coupons and rewards. Block ads, save money, earn free rewards. What more could you want?
I'm back. I'm back. Okay. Welcome back to the stream. Feeling much better. I literally had the worst headache while I was like on the break. On the break. Did my Twitch just cancel out my my live stream? I was live on Twitch. What happened? Interesting. Well, I'm still on YouTube. Let me check real quick if I am still on Twitch, because I did not cancel anything out, but they're canceling me out. Let's see. Twitch, why do you hate me so much? Let's see, let's see. Twitch, why would you do this to me? It is definitely bugging. I wonder what is happening with Twitch. There's been a lot of different issues with Twitch recently, with a lot of other streamers, not just me, but it's not stopping the stream, but it's not playing the stream either. What is going on with Twitch? Okay, it's not responding. I was literally away from this desktop for like 6 minutes. What has happened? What is going on? Here, give me 1 second, people. I thought Twitch was my unproblematic child. Apparently, it's turning out to be problematic. Problematic. It's not letting me stop the stream either. Okay. What does modify mean? It's working to press modify. Come on. What if I just press the button like 500 times? Yeah, it's not letting me stop the stream on Twitch. Well, whatever. I don't know what's going on with the internet. I warned y'all about Twitch and YouTube. But we're gonna keep going into the news. I don't really mind how Twitch is being funny. It's just, I would like to continue streaming on Twitch. Can I force quit it? Force quit? No, I don't know what to do. No, it's not doing anything. It's OBS, man. OBS has been tweaking out. Anyways, we're gonna continue streaming on YouTube. It's fine. Twitch failed me. But we're gonna move on to talk about how Manchester Fashion Week is back again. I'm so excited. It's sponsored by Eco Age. Eco Age. I'm screaming into the mic. But I'm so excited, guys. Eco Age is such a beautiful organization, and I'm super excited that they're like strengthening again their efforts and bringing back cool stuff. I've never been to London, never been to Manchester, and I've never been in communication with Eco Age, but I've been a huge fan. And Manchester Fashion Week hasn't happened in 10 years. In 10 years. So it's super cool. So this is like the last version here. But yeah, if you're not familiar with Eco Age, amazing organization, you should definitely follow them and support them. And let's get into the article that I saw. There's not much on YouTube because they've been defunct for so long. Okay, Manchester World. Actually, let's go to the Fashion United one. There we go. There you go. Manchester will host its own Fashion Week after a decade hiatus in September, with a focus on emerging design, talent, innovation, and sustainability. I love Manchester. Manchester Fashion Week. My British accent is so horrible. Manchester.
Manchester Fashion Week is returning in September after a decade away, with a mission to spotlight emerging design talent, innovation, and sustainability, while offering brands an opportunity to connect and shape the future of fashion. The event will run from September 9th to 11th, ahead of London Fashion Week, and will be centered around the vibrant St. John's area of Manchester, with its official hub set in the newly refurbished Campfield. a new creative hub that has transformed one of Manchester's oldest market halls. With support from sustainability fashion media platform and consultancy EcoAge, which relaunched under new ownership in June as a communications agency for future fashion. Manchester Fashion Week will be spearheaded by some of the industry's renowned thought leaders, including Carrie Summers, founder of global movement Fashion Revolution, and Safia Mini, award-winning social entrepreneur and founder of People Tree, a pioneer of sustainable and fair trade fashion. Gemma Grattan, executive producer of Manchester Fashion Week, said in a statement, "Manchester has always led in music, in manufacturing, in movements. And now it's time to lead again by future-proofing fashion from the ground up."
Yes, all the sustainable baddie leaders are going to be there. I feel like it's like the cool kid. Obviously, I'm not invited to the cool kid club. I was going to say the cool kid club, but I cannot talk sometimes.
Gemma Grattan, executive producer of Manchester Fashion Week, said in a statement, "Manchester has always led in music, in manufacturing, in movements.
Oh, oops, sorry.
And
we already
now
heard this.
it's time to lead again by future-proofing fashion from the ground up."
Yes.
Manchester Fashion Week is not just a celebration of style, but a cultural catalyst for people, purpose, and progress. Manchester Fashion Week to champion sustainable practices and technological advancement. Manchester Fashion Week pledges to unite emerging designers and established brands on a platform that bridges Manchester's industrial heritage with cutting-edge innovation by spotlighting conversations around the city's textile heritage and mills, sustainable practices, and technological innovations to future-proof the fashion industry. The inaugural pilot will be industry-led, with public experiences and cultural events, and will be focused around 3 themed days to merge fashion with conscious innovation, explains organizers. The first day will focus on heritage and future-proof, celebrating Manchester's industrial heritage with next-gen style and future innovation, while Day 2 will showcase health and wellness, diving into a world where fashion fuels the mind, body, and soul. Spotlighting high-tech activewear, color therapy couture, and conversations about mental health in the industry.
So heritage and future-proof, health and wellness, and then tech and innovation. Oh, they're gonna highlight AI? Oh, God. Alright. Oh, man. Well, there always has to be something wrong with something. AI, come on. Well, if I think they're saying the future of fashion will be AI generated, which I'm not too happy about.
The final day will highlight tech and innovation and how the new era of fashion is creative, conscious, and circular, showing how AI-powered design, 3D, prototype innovation, smart textiles, and digital-only garments are transforming how we create, consume, and circulate. John Higginson, chief executive of EcoAge, added, "Manchester is Britain's fashion mecca. Where else do you go where everyone walks around as if they are always on a catwalk? But there is a fight between crappy, flimsy fast fashion and the beautiful things you want to keep forever." Manchester Fashion Week is all about future fashion, forever fashion. Manchester Fashion Week to return September 9th to 11th. Manchester has been dubbed the rising fashion capital of the UK for launching and nurturing some of the UK's most well-known fashion brands, as well as housing the UK's first fashion manufacturing lab, pioneered by the Manchester Fashion Institute, which offers businesses and researchers access to collaborative robotic technology, cobots, that can create sustainable high-value, low-volume garments. The city has also recently been spotlighted as the new UK home of Puma. The German sportswear brand is relocating its UK headquarters from London to Manchester's technology, digital and creative hub, Circle Square, and has launched a new initiative, Our City, geared at investing in the city's youth with free gym memberships, music masterclasses, youth-led events, and product drops. This isn't just Manchester's moment. It's Manchester Fashion's reset. And it starts here, right from the root, the organizers added.
I wonder why they spotlighted Puma. I mean, Puma's like not the most sustainable brand, but I mean, it's still a good example that I think can be improved with time. It's just the affiliation of like major sportswear brands. It's not that excited to see that, but it's a start, and I do think that I trust EcoAge enough to know that they're going to be continuous in their efforts to keep improving this and to possibly highlight local designers that are less geared towards AI and more geared towards like sustainable change that addresses systemic issues. So I'm curious how local sustainable fashion designers are going to tackle AI. I do think that because AI is so new and it's been exploding this year, maybe it'll be further incorporated in years to come, but I'm not sure how exactly local designers are going to use AI. Only time will tell, but I'm super excited for Manchester Fashion Week. There's so many amazing people backing this up, so if anything, I'm just curious to like get an idea of the aesthetics, where it's going to be at specifically, who they're going to invite, what the PR will be like, especially when they're collaborating with like local institutes and stuff. So maybe they'll have fashion students be showcased in the runways, but it is coming up in September. September! So excited. I wish I had like a PR thing on their website, but we can look for sure at the EcoAge website. Let's see. Bring back fashion. Okay, let's see. EcoAge Manchester Fashion Week. They haven't done a press release themselves, which is interesting. Very interesting indeed. But I'm sure more will come out. They just released the news too. I think they had something on their Instagram. Yeah. So this is their Instagram post. So it says, the rebirth of Manchester Fashion Week takes place this autumn with a bold blueprint for the future of fashion. So it's set to transform what is often referred to as the UK's fast fashion capital into the future-focused capital. This 3-day event merges Manchester's rich textile heritage with innovative solutions to tackle the industry's most pressing challenges. So running from September 9th to the 11th, Manchester Fashion Week will unite emerging... Oh, shit. I clicked out of it. Dang it. Alright. Running from September 9th to 11th, Manchester Fashion Week will unite emerging designers and established brands while serving as a platform for honest dialogue, visionary thinking, and radical collaboration. The event will spotlight heritage and future-proof health and wellness and tech and innovation, merging fashion with conscious innovation across each themed day. EcoAge is proud to be a media partner for Manchester Fashion Week, which will be spearheaded by some of the industry's renowned thought leaders, including Carrie Sommers, co-founder of Global Movement Fashion Revolution, and Safia Minley, MBE award-winning social entrepreneur and founder of Andalesi, Fashion Declares, and People Tree. Oh my god, Safia is a queen of sustainable fashion. I grew up with her, like I love her so much. She also founded People Tree, which is a pioneer of sustainable and fair trade fashion and regenerative practices for the fashion industry, with discussions led by EcoAge CEO John Higginson. Against the backdrop of a €12 billion fashion industry grappling with issues around sustainability, technology, and cultural relevance, Manchester Fashion Week arrives at a crucial time, ready to future-proof the fashion industry with an exciting blend of heritage and innovation. I'm so excited! Oh. There you go. I wish I was in the UK, please. I wish I was in the UK so bad. September. I wonder if they're gonna live stream it. I do want to watch, or if there's like a virtual version, I will go to the virtual version every day, all day. So this is their official website. Rebirth. The rebirth. Stay informed. Oh, hell yeah. sustainablemode@gmail.com. Yes, signed up to stay informed. There you go. It's easy as that. So they're terming it as the North's leading fashion platform, a fusion of established designers, emerging talent, fashion tech, and cultural influence. Spotlight on innovation and sustainability. It will offer brands a powerful opportunity to connect, stand out, and shape the future of fashion. Very young model here. Interesting. So their vision to 2030 is to become a leading future-proof fashion week with global impact, inclusive platforms, and cultural leadership. Oh, I love that. So it's going to be a St. John's area, and they do a whole map out. So I think they're going to have events at their warehouse, at the Museum of Science and Industry, at their railway building, at the Campfield main hub, and the Dome. And then at the ABC Studios and Side Street Bar. Oh, nice. Oh, this is so fun. How do I register? Register now to be part of Manchester Fashion Week, where fashion meets culture, creativity, and innovation. Whether you're part of the industry or a style-savvy member of the public, this form allows you to secure your place at one of the city's most exciting fashion events. Choose your registration type below and stay updated with exclusive schedules, access details, and insider news. What if I put Chicago? I think with the email I'm fine. I mean, I want a virtual version so bad. I would love this in a virtual version. I'm so excited though. I love when people like come together to create innovative like fashion weeks and like shows in general. So this is definitely something I stand by. But besides that, there's not much else here to look at. But if you want to follow their Instagram, it's Manchester_fashion_week. Has 302 followers. Can I email them and be like, hey, do a virtual version, please? They have an email here, info@fashionweekmanchester.co.uk. Should I email them? What if I email them enough for them to fly me out? No, I don't think that's gonna happen. It's not gonna happen, maybe. I'll think about it. Maybe I'll do it in next stream. In next Tuesday's stream. Okay, so that's that for that. That's that. Okay. Oh my god, there's so many tabs. But I do want to go and move on to a article that I read from Threads, which is an amazing site that I recently discovered that has so many informative articles. It's called threads.com. And it talks about the paradox of vintage fashion hauls, which I've never thought about before. Is this Twitch still not stopping? Still not stopping. It's definitely glitching out. Okay, whatever. Okay, so let's listen to this article on how vintage fashion hauls are a paradox.
Gen Z may have an affinity for secondhand clothing, but that won't change their long-standing love of overconsumption. When I was growing up in rural England, secondhand shopping meant reluctantly traipsing around a charity shop with my mum and hoping nobody from school spotted me. The clothes smelt like damp and usually had more than one dubious stain. Needless to say, it wasn't the height of fashion. Things started to change when I became a teenager and social media took off. Tumblr was huge back then, and with it came a sudden wave of young nostalgia. We had visual mood boards of periods we hadn't been alive for, or at least hadn't been old enough to consciously absorb. Now everyone wanted to dress like Effie from Skins or Claire Standish from The Breakfast Club. Many of my weekends during the last 2 years of school were spent in the same musky charity shops I'd avoided years earlier, only this time I was flanked by an army of friends, all of us hungry for unique finds and bargain deals. Secondhand clothing has been growing in popularity ever since, bolstered by a widespread interest in sustainable consumption, particularly amongst Gen Z. To cater for this shift, websites have sprung up to replace the tiresome exercise of charity or thrift shopping, with brands like Vint and Depop making it easy to source vintage pieces at the touch of a button, while make money on your own old clothes. Vestiaire Collective sent secondhand fashion into the arena of luxury branding. And Vinterior ensured we could shop for pre-loved homeware and furniture, always highly curated and resold at a premium.
I don't know why, but she came off kind of condescending at the beginning. Hoping nobody spotted me at the charity shop. The clothes smelled damp and had dubious stains. It wasn't the height of fashion. It took off when she was a teenager and social media took off. I think she just likes things because they're popular, and she just hated to like be seen in something that had an association with a stigma, which I get, but it's kind of like, girl, it's not that serious. It's just clothing. But if you have like this background of like believing in stigmas because you want to be cool, then you're gonna get embarrassed and be like, oh my god, I'm like poor and I don't want my friends to look at me like I'm so lame if they see me here. But I mean, you can control that in your head. You can be like, no, this is just what we have to do, because that's what I would think as a child. My parents would have to buy things for me at the thrift store, and I was happy. I was happy they were taking time to like go buy stuff for me, even though it was at a thrift store. And I was aware of the stigma. I just didn't care. I didn't care about people liking me. So I think everyone's coming from a different place. It's just sometimes I'm like, you know, you could have just not cared so much. You could have just been your own person. But I think it just takes strength to get out of that mindset and just do your own thing.
Secondhand clothing has been growing in popularity ever since, bolstered by a widespread interest in sustainable consumption, particularly amongst Gen Z. To cater for this shift, websites have sprung up to replace the tiresome exercise of charity or thrift shopping, with brands like Vint and Depop making it easy to source vintage pieces at the touch of a button, while make money on your own old clothes. Vestiaire Collective sent secondhand fashion into the arena of luxury branding. And Vinterior ensured we could shop for pre-loved homeware and furniture, always highly curated and resold at a premium. Thrifting is no longer a subculture or a necessity. It's become a lifestyle in its own right. But as pre-loved clothing becomes more and more in vogue, it also inches away from its sustainable function as an antidote to fast fashion. Thanks to social media, our penchant for indulging, very publicly, in trends has swept vintage shopping into the same cycle of overconsumption that, for many at least, it once stood in opposition to.
I don't think we can simplify it in such a black and white perspective. I do think that a lot of people can thrift out of necessity and others thrift out of luxury or just because it's fun. Maybe it's a lifestyle like she's alluding to, but everyone's case is different. We can't just generalize because she's stating things as if it's just what it is. Like her perspective is just her perspective. But I mean, a lot of brands are trying to curate towards Gen Z's interest in sustainable fashion or like vintage fashion. But I don't think a lot of people are buying vintage to solve fast fashion. I think they just like vintage because that's just what happens to be trendy. So again, like, is it really a step away from sustainable fashion if people don't even know that they're participating in said sustainable fashion, or if it's even an antidote to fast fashion? Who knows? But I feel like the more vintage clothing that we consume, the less fast fashion we consume. But I do get your point, like, we can overconsume something. But isn't it better, though, to overconsume vintage clothing than fast fashion? I'm not saying that we should overconsume in general, but she's alluding that we're creating more of a problem if we're buying more vintage fashion. And that we're only simply doing this because of trends. But a lot of times, I've seen Gen Z be so aware about what's happening they're suffering from climate anxiety. They're suffering from the weight of the world. They're suffering from like basically everything. Jobs are hard to get to. Like the world doesn't seem to be too friendly to them. Like they're dealing with a lack of third spaces, lack of opportunities, lack of being able to make friends, right? And so sometimes all they can do is like thrift, or sometimes all they have left is to buy stuff. So it's not necessarily an individual's fault on what they're doing in consumerism. It's more so a systemic issue because they're living under capitalism, which reinforces the idea that how you spend your time is to go shopping. So I think instead of just going to the fast fashion or to the malls, they're just going to thrift stores, and hence that's why it seems like maybe they're over consuming. But there's literally also no proof that they're over consuming. So I wonder where she's getting this idea that they're over consuming, and like what statistics there are to back that statement up, or that sense that this is happening, because a lot of times people's opinions are based off of their emotions. So just because your emotions are saying something doesn't mean it's a reality. So I just simply want the facts of like, where is she getting these theories and how is she gonna back it up? Because from what I see, she's gonna villainize a YouTuber who simply has showed us like what she's thrifted in a day. And that is not enough proof to say that people are over consuming.
Across Instagram and TikTok, vintage hauls have become a genre of their own, blending the thrill of hunting for unique pieces with the hyper-shareable language of consumerism. As Haley Marie writes, this wasteful behavior is often excused in the context of secondhand fashion because the positives ostensibly outweigh the negatives. Ever since I worked in a resale shop in my teens, I've treated clothing as disposable. I always told myself that since I was buying secondhand clothes and reselling them, I could consume as much as I wanted. This led to almost never repeating an outfit and really unsustainable habits. Marie's behavior was bolstered by the arrival of YouTube, which allowed her to share this overconsumption for social and financial gain. The term haul is often associated with fast fashion giants like Shein or Zara. On TikTok alone, the hashtag has over 17.6 million posts, most of which feature influencers frantically unpacking bags and bags of clothing, most of which they intend to return.
I do understand that hauls are a problem. We've seen those all across TikTok. I'm sure we have at least seen one Shein haul on TikTok. If you haven't, just look it up, Shein haul on TikTok. Crazy amount of stuff that they're showing to their followings, but I don't think a haul justifies the term overconsumption. I've done in the past sustainable fashion hauls, and it's been very much essentials that I've needed. It's a term that we call showcasing people what we've got. So I don't think haul in itself should be villainized. I think it's just a term to describe us showing our things to others through the online world. And even in person, we can be like, oh, do you want to look at my haul, or here's my haul? But it's been normalized online. But I don't think to have like a vintage haul means, oh, it's participating in overconsumption. Because a lot of times people do take their time to look through every rack, try it on, and make sure they really love it, especially when it's vintage. Because vintage clothing can often enough need more care, or needs special, whatever, like dry clean and stuff. So I don't think it's the same as like buying fast fashion. I think people have to be aware of like its care more so than fast fashion, because that thing can like fall apart if you don't care about it, especially if it's a unique piece.
In the UK, customers return £7 billion of online purchases each year. This phenomenon has led many retailers to enforce fees for returns or block customer accounts with a high returns rate. We assume that the pieces we send back are resold to the next person. But in reality, if an item is not in perfect condition, there's a delay in the shipping or processing, or you keep it for a while before returning, it's likely never resold. According to one logistics firm, the carbon dioxide cost of returns in the US is the equivalent to the output of 3M cars.
I don't know what she's trying to prove. Okay, so Flo, as a writer for feedback, I don't know why she's going on a tangent about returns. If I was editor here, I'd be like, what is the point of this? Because you're talking about vintage, you're talking about hauls, you're talking about the online world, and then you're talking about returns, and you kind of lost me here. So Flo, what was he doing there? What's the point of this? I don't get what you're trying to say. But let's continue on to read the article. I just don't know why she's mentioning the returns right now.
Vintage clothing is meant to be an antidote to this problem, but
okay.
it's now being consumed at the same speed and urgency as fast fashion. Online, secondhand and vintage shopping.
So she just said vintage clothing as an antidote to the problem of ineffective returns, which I don't think is, I guess, a holistic perspective, because it's not just returns. It's like how we consumers are just like throwing everything away too quickly and like just buying too much, but it's also the brands. Like, brands are the ones that are essentially the ones creating the problem. They are pushing for this demand and pushing for overconsumption, and they refuse to call themselves fast fashion. They say, oh, we're an on-demand fashion brand, but they're the ones that have increased their efficiency in order to like make so much products, you know. So it's not that vintage fashion is a solution to like the returns or to the retailers' return policies. It's just vintage clothing is a way for us to consume sustainably and to like have unique pieces. And we can't make an assumption that people returning, or we can't make an assumption that those consuming vintage fashion are even aware of fast fashion. So you also can't just make a blanket statement that it's now being consumed at the same speed and urgency as fast fashion. I would love to have reports on this. I would love to have statistics on this. But the danger in sustainable fashion that I've seen is that we are very emotive and passionate about this issue, and we can start to make claims based on our feelings about what should be right and wrong and what is the truth. And I think this is just a prime example of someone that sees a problem and is now saying, wow, everyone is consuming vintage fashion at the same speed and urgency as fast fashion, when that may not be the case unless there is proof validating that claim. You can't just make a claim out of nowhere. It just hurts the movement out of sheer like distaste for what's going on in the industry. So that's just a feedback I keep seeing that I'm just bothered by. We can't make blanket statements, and we can't generalize things so easily to understand the issues. It's an injustice to everyone.
Online, secondhand and vintage shopping has become both competitive and performative, a status symbol shaped by algorithms and trending aesthetics, says Yan Yuan. The rush lies not just in what you wear, but how you found it, scoring a deal, beating others to it, and replying to a compliment with thanks, it's vintage. Combine this with Gen Z's already healthy appetite for haul culture online, and you've got a recipe for overconsumption. This, no matter how you frame it, is never good for the planet. While many Gen Zers are conscious of overproduction of fashion and its impact on the planet, it's a constant push-pull between how they say they want to consume and their actual behavior, says Julia Peterson, senior insights strategist at US-based youth culture agency Artrival. Apps like Depop and The Real Real are exacerbating this trend, with highly gamified interfaces complete with push notifications, limited time sales, and just-dropped features that drive purchase urgency similarly to your average e-tailer. The labor of secondhand shopping once acted as a natural speed bump to overconsumption. You had to work for the good stuff. Now, with curated feeds and algorithmic suggestions, everything is a click away. The truth is, social media is hardwired to reward excess. The more we buy, the more we post. The more we post, the more we influence. The more we influence, the more we're shown, and ultimately sold. There's no easy route out of this cycle. But maybe the solution lies not in what we buy, but how we think. Fashion writers like Orcella de Castro have reframed our clothing as an extension of the self, an object with a biography that maps various moments in our lives. Thinking about the things we consume in this way forces a slow, unperformative, and inherently personal approach. Considering how long we wear something, the lives it has lived before it stepped in. Orcella de Castro have reframed. Orcella de Castro.
I think she contradicted herself, which is a bit of a sad moment as a reader, because to buy vintage is often practiced to buy in a more slow, unperformative way that is geared towards more of our personal identity, and we are considering how long we'll wear something if we are buying vintage, because they're usually like very special pieces, and it derails from the mainstream society, and it shapes us in a better way towards like integrating our most authentic self in society. I don't think she sees that connection. I think she still is villainizing vintage fashion, whether she recognizes it or not. So I think she's on her own journey, and that's on her to understand what vintage fashion is in midst of fast fashion. But I do want to say that she described Orcella de Castro as a fashion writer when she's actually one of the founders of the biggest sustainable fashion movement. So she's actually an advocate. She's an activist in sustainable fashion. She's not just a writer. So I think Flo brings a lot of biases in how she writes, and how she sees fashion. And I think everyone has their own stigmas, their own negative ideas of like what's going on in the industry, and sometimes can project it into some real solutions, because it is way better that people buy more vintage fashion than fast fashion. And the media that she uses almost tries to justify the negative appeal of vintage fashion. So I would always be curious to ask people who have a lot of, I guess, stigma against vintage fashion, what their solution would be to achieve sustainable fashion. So, very curious if she sees any solution to fast fashion in general, because from what she was talking about, she doesn't seem to be too optimistic, but thinks that we just need to know ourselves better, which is a very individualistic take to get to somewhere meaningful. Very interesting article, but I don't think there can. She's got my there's so many thoughts. There's so many tabs. There's so many tabs. There's so many tabs. I don't think it can be a. Oh my god! There's an ant on me. What's going on? All the ants came out. It was like raining. Now they're in my room. I don't think there should be a paradox in vintage fashion hauls. I think people just want to show what they got. It doesn't mean that they're promoting overconsumption. But maybe we should see some TikTok hauls on vintage fashion. And then we can wrap up, because
I don't think you can park there.
Oh shoot. Oh god. What happened?
To holiday. And right now, you can
Oh Jesus. She sounds like me.
I don't think you can park there. To holiday. And right now.
Okay, vintage fashion haul.
One of my girlfriends just gifted me a giant pile of 70s vintage stuff that she doesn't wear anymore. So let's try it on. Okay, item number 1. Hey! This is so beautiful. Shut up. And it fits perfectly. Like, that's the real gag of it all, is that it fits. Cute. Next. No words. No words. There's, okay. Ignore that my boob's fucking popping out of that. Anyway, there's a Candy Jones dress that has this same little, like, the same ribbon pattern. And I literally was looking at it for, like, my high school graduation 4 years ago. And the fact that she just gave it to me, I'm like, I don't even know what to say here.
To think back about her article, can't we term every purchase as overconsumption? If we already have everything that we need, then we're basically always overconsuming. And if we only buy to replenish, I think that's the only case we're ever not over-consuming, right? I think that's the logic she was going for, to only buy what we need, because everything else is overindulgence. Very interesting.
I like it. It's perfect. I love it. I love every second of it. I'm going to live in this from now on. Yeah. Okay, now this. Also eating. What the hell? Oh. Oh. And it's like one of those 70s fabrics that's like, why am I wearing a fucking blanket right now? But like, oh, just shit. Like, I feel romantic about it. I don't know. Oh my god, guys, another hit. I don't know if I can keep taking all these hits. Like, the color, the fit, the polyester. Like, it's so flattering. And when I try on stuff in modern stores, why doesn't it feel like this? Is it because I feel special when I wear vintage? Maybe, but I feel so beautiful. I feel so beautiful. Oh, I love it. Oh my god. Sorry. Hey. So, what a flattering little length. Also, ignore my little dirty socks. It doesn't matter, okay? This does in fact have a rip in the back of it, but luckily my mother taught me how to sew at a young age. So I feel it's gonna be amazing. A little more fall than it is summer, but the big hydrangeas are kind of giving spring. Moment of silence here. I love it. I wish I wasn't making a video where I'm talking because I literally don't have words for this. I loved when they did this. The little bodice, My roommate's singing CSN right now. Hope you can hear that. Anyway, this is beautiful. Oh my god!
Okay. We left before her crash out, but I don't think she's over consuming if she's like in love with the pieces, and if she has them in her closet for years to come, then it's definitely not over consuming. She does love fashion though, so I wonder how much of it she actually keeps. If she keeps it, then it's not
Over the years,
over-consuming.
I've collected a lot of really fun vintage dresses, but unfortunately, I don't have as many fun places to wear them. But what I thought would be fun is if you and I play some dress up. Okay, we're starting off strong, and also you're gonna see a theme. I have a lot of 70s evening gowns, but this is her. It might be one of my favorites, honestly. I love the color, I love the high neck, I love the little detail, and I just feel very pretty in it. Hee. Also, I did different makeup today, and I'm sure you can tell I'm feeling myself, guys. Yeah. Okay, guys. The rumors are true. It's gonna suck.
Maybe she does have too many things, but like, is she keeping them? That's the question. Is she keeping them? Let's see another vintage haul before we move on. Where's the audio?
Collection was just so amazing. I never find this much 90s adorable pieces in one place. This top by the brand Ice, and it's silk and it laces up in the front. This dress is so beautiful on. It's floral, and the back details are what makes it. It has buttons and the lace up. This adorable tank, and it's the cutest fabric. And similar to that one, but so cute. Tank, and it has the matches. Like, this one just sits so flattering. And
I mean, as long as they're keeping it, I don't think there's a problem. I think the verdict here is let's not criminalize vintage fashion when it's way better than fast fashion. There's so many items circulating. There's like enough clothing to clothe the next 6 generations, and people still find issues with vintage fashion. It's kind of crazy. But, you know, everyone has their own little problems in the industry, so we're at liberty of being like, oh, I don't like this and I don't like that. But at the end of the day, like, it's better that we buy used than new. Better to give money to local thrift stores than major fashion brands that don't care about their workers and literally are letting their poor garment workers have a heat stroke. But to go on and talk about Teen Vogue, they recently had an article called "How Knitting Clubs Became the Least Suspecting Place for messed that up so bad. How knitting clubs became the least suspecting place for political change." So I was very curious what they meant by this, and their article was so nuanced that I wanted to share it. I probably will make a YouTube video on it because it was a really good article. So let's listen up. And I think after this, I'm actually going to step out and...
Last summer, Bucky Grant hosted a visible mending workshop in Denver.
I'm going to actually like end the live stream after this news bit. And then be back on Tuesday. I'm going to end early even though I said I was going to live stream until 7. Let's see.
Last summer, Bucky Grant hosted a visible mending workshop in Denver, a community event to teach people the art of fixing their own clothing, particularly in ways that don't disguise the repair. This can mean using patches or colorful thread, small statements that let people know you took the time to extend the life of your clothing. The event was so popular that the 28-year-old fiber artist made it a regular happening, hosting monthly Stitch and Bitches, tapping into the long-lived practice of gathering like-minded people to engage in their craft of choice. That's the Stitch part. While they talk, gossip, or trade skills, that's the bitch part. While mending your own clothes is a valuable skill, it's also one Grant sees as inherently political, particularly when the mending is visible to others. The act of repairing things and sewing is a radical act by refusing to go along with fast fashion, Grant tells Teen Vogue. They dislike the amount of clothing waste fast fashion encourages, and the subpar or exploitative labor conditions some companies use to make it. There's not a piece of clothing on earth that was not created by a human in some capacity. Refusing to fall into the trap of throwing anything away as soon as it's inconveniently broken is resisting. Grant's politically motivated Stitch and Bitch is part of a legacy, one many people today aren't aware of or don't take seriously. Though they're often thought of as granny hobbies, fiber arts like knitting and sewing have long been a political tool, used to leverage social change or to make political statements in protest. Today, Stitch and Bitches are having a revival, attracting people young and old who come together to practice their chosen craft. Just like those in the hundreds of years before them, today's Stitch and Bitch groups are deeply tied to political change.
I had read an article about this like years ago and I completely forgot about it until I saw this article and I was like, yes. And I think it's kind of left a mainscape of like, mainscape? Did I just come up with a new word? Mainscape? The fuck is this? What did I just say? I'm a word theorist today. I'm just saying whatever. Honestly, I drink matcha, I drink soda, and I just ate some chocolate cake with ants all over it because the ants are coming in from the rain. And my brain is just on a sugar rush. And I think this whole live stream has been a dream. Has been a sugar dream. Because I was so tired today. But like I was saying, I think a lot of sustainable fashion advocates don't really talk about this, even though it is a pillar of what they engage in. I've seen a lot of like privileged Montanans do the most random shit and call it politics or like activism. And they had so much privilege and they would be like, yeah, I did this and this and this. I'm like, you literally just sewed or you literally just screen printed something. But for them, it's like groundbreaking because they don't really know what activism is. So art and crafts can be a stepping stone into like more real, quote unquote, real organizing or political engagement. But when you have a normie stepping into like more radical spaces, it can feel a lot to be like, oh my god, I screen printed this image on this shirt that will be sold, or like it's so radical to like do a zine, or it's so radical to like draw a design that will be counter to the political ideology that I disagree with. I don't know if that made sense, but like just doing something in opposition of the enemy or the person that you disagree with, even in the smallest way that seems almost insignificant, is a lot for them. And I feel like in a similar way, like crafts can be an introduction to more radical thought or radical action. But I'm still kind of iffy whether stitching is enough, if knitting is enough, when we need real organizers, you know? Like we need real campaigns, we need direct action, because we can't just sit around and knit. That's never gonna fix anything in a systemic way. Like we need laws and policies, and we need political players to be held accountable, and we need people that actually represent our interests and are set accountable to those actions. So if we're just sitting around and gossiping and knitting in a way to like say that we're like political activists, then I wouldn't really agree with that. But some others would say like it's like the sense that we're doing something through knitting that makes it political. Like you say that it's political because you say it is, you know, which I find interesting. I'm trying to understand it. I'm still researching it, but I don't really think knitting is that political. I just feel like it's a fuzzy way to be like, oh, I care, and here's an easy way to do something. But maybe I'm wrong. I just it feels too complacent when there's bigger targets to target, you know?
It's hard to know just how far back the link between knitting, sewing, and politics goes, but according to Liz Kristen, a librarian and self-proclaimed knitting historian, it goes pretty far. According to the Victoria and Albert Museum, people have been knitting since about the 3rd to 5th century in the Middle East and North Africa. Still, Kristen says much of our written history on knitting starts in Europe around the 1500s, when knitting was becoming increasingly popular.
I mean, it's been around, but that doesn't necessarily make it inherently political or a political act. I think we can include knitted items within advocacy and activist action, which this alludes to it.
That legacy of advocacy through knitting and craft is rich in modern times, too. Pink pussy hats were a symbol of resistance against Donald Trump's first presidency. Reproductive rights advocates knitted uteruses and mailed them to legislators in 2012 to protest anti-birth control rhetoric, yarn bombing, or covering public objects like trees or benches in knit or crocheted work, has been a way to make political statements. Betsy Greer, author of Craftivism, The Art of Craft and Activism and Knitting for Good, a guide to creating personal, social, and political change, stitch by stitch, says fiber arts and crafts in general are a good political outlet because they're a form of storytelling and community. Crafting gives you agency, and it allows you to tell your story in a way that can be private and can be communal, Greer says. From that base of it being a storytelling narrative, personal agency device, it can be used to also share feelings about politics. That's why Worcester, Massachusetts resident Deb Powers started Knitty Council, a stitch and bitch group that meets to talk local politics, teach area crafters how to parse city meeting agendas, and to sit in on city council meetings for accountability, acting as a crafting watchdog group. For Powers, who's long linked her knitting with political action, knitting is inherently political, revolutionary, even.
Okay, I'm understanding it.
I think knitting is one of the ways we build community, and that's what revolution is all about. It's not about overthrowing a government. It's not about throwing people out of power. It's about building communities of care so we can take care of each other, Power says. And coming together around craft bridges divides. It's a lot easier to take care of each other and not see people as other when you've been sitting around teaching someone a stitch they want to know.
All right, I see that. Oh my god, this article just goes on and on and on and on. I'm curious about the stitching bitches. What does that look like? I don't like gossip though. I hate gossip. I can't stand small talk. That's why I don't really have a lot of big friend groups in my life. I just talk to one person or another person whenever I kind of feel like it, to be honest. Not that I'm antisocial, it's just I'm very picky with how I spend my time. And a lot of times big friend groups are just talking about the most random stuff that I have no clue how to answer back or how to empathize with. Like the Love Island thing. I don't give a hell. I don't care. I don't care about Love Island. I don't care about drama. I don't care about your latest relationship. I genuinely do not care. And I can't tell them that. I can't be like, yo, I don't care about what's going on in your life that's based on drama and relationships. Like, can you have a deep conversation with me? But then they're like, oh, are you high? I'm like, no, I'm not high. I just want to have a real conversation. Stitchin' bitch. Oh my god, 13 years ago? That's crazy. She's the only one that's actually making like consistent videos on this. Does she still make videos? 13 years ago is crazy. Let's see. Oh my gosh, she still makes videos. 2 weeks ago. Reads books. Best books of 2023. Can you imagine doing YouTube for like 15 years? She only has 181,000 views, or subscribers, I mean. "15 years ago, that's crazy. Wow.
Old-fashioned stitch and bitch. I'm not sure if you have heard of this before. I hadn't heard of it before I started looking up knitting on the internet, but apparently there's this thing called stitch and bitch, which is basically just people getting together, knitting, and talking to each other. So I figured, why not do a stitch and bitch vlog all about knitting? I'm not gonna be able to look at you all the time. Sorry. I haven't even thought about what I was doing. I'm doing something simple. Okay, so I mentioned this in my New Year's resolutions video that I'm knitting stuff. I guess not a lot of people knit. At least that's what I thought, but apparently a whole bunch of my friends are into knitting. One of my friends, called Sarah, who has been in a couple of my videos, is a really good knitter, and she's been doing it for forever, and she actually got me this for my birthday. She made me this beautiful elf hat. It has the longest tassels. Oh, also I have some tea. It's so real hot, can't drink it. And a biscuit. I've always been very much into arts and crafts and stuff like this. I remember when I was 10, we kind of had some kind of arts and crafts class activity thing where we had to make friendship bracelets and do braiding and I don't know what the other thing's called in English. See, I kind of have a problem with knitting related English vocab, but yeah, we used to make friendship bracelets and I loved it. I loved it so much, and I guess my mom taught me how to knit when I was about 13, and I did it for a little bit and then I just kind of stopped. And then when Sarah studied in the Netherlands and she came to stay with me for a while, she was so much into knitting that she would buy yarn from different stores in all the cities she traveled to in Europe. She would kind of pick a different kind of yarn every time, and she would pick a color that reminded her of the city, and then she was making this really big Europe blanket, and I thought that that was such a wonderful idea that I kind of started knitting with her, and whenever I would visit her, it would take about 3 hours by train, so I would knit on the train, which always got me some funny looks. I wouldn't say I'm very good at it. I don't make a lot of mistakes. I'm not very fast either, but I'd say I'm doing okay. I just bought this really cheap yarn to practice with, and I also have this blue one. So when I kind of started knitting again, maybe in October or November, Levi started knitting again. I was like, oh, that's fun. But what I didn't know was that she had been knitting for a while, because she was working on my birthday present. It must have taken forever. Here it is. I hope you guys recognize this, because this is a Doctor Who scarf. Insert footage from the Doctor Who experience here.
Okay, so let's look up craftivism. Let's see what, oh, is crafting political? Interesting. So other people have been also covering this as well. It's not a super popular topic. But it's very interesting how people use an idea to like be politically engaged. Let's see. Why is your thumbnail so pixelated? Is that me? Why is there baby commercials? I don't need no baby in this economy. Recession indicator equals no babies. Oh my god, not get-go. Okay. So there's another one here that we can watch. Let's see. Says in a capitalist society, anything not bought means resistance. If you even buy materials, you don't buy the labor. Huh? Even if you buy labor, what? Even if you buy materials, you don't buy the labor. Oh, okay, I don't know what that means. Don't know what she was going on with.
Hi guys, welcome to Amy of Melbourne. My name's Amy, obviously, and today we're talking
She's Amy? I don't think it was that obvious.
about craftivism. Craftivism is taking craft and activism and putting them together. It merges the traditions of handcrafts with social activism and political activism. It includes a wide variety of textile-based things like knitting, crochet, embroidery, sewing, and so much more. Historically, these things have served as tools of resistance, particularly for women and marginalized communities. Today, we're exploring the history of craftivism, highlighting how textile-based activism has been used as a form of resistance against oppression and marginalization. Textile-based activism has its roots far before the 20th century, where we get the word craftivism. Historically, it's been women in particular have used their handicrafts to challenge social norms and oppression. One of the most prominent examples of this textile-based resistance was part of the French Revolution. Textiles became a symbol of revolutionary ideas and resistance of the monarchy and the aristocracy. Women played an essential role in this social upheaval, and they used their textiles as part of their resistance and as a significant part of expressing their solidarity with the revolutionary aims. One key example is the French Revolutionary bonnet, which is a symbol of liberty for both men and women. The bonnet is called the Furian cap, otherwise known as the Liberty cap. You may have seen it in the most recent French Olympics. It is made from red wool, and it absolutely epitomizes and symbolizes the key goals of the revolution, being equality and liberty. Women, known as tricoteuses, were also incredibly important and powerful at this point in time. Tricoteuses means knitting, and these women would go to the revolutionary squares, especially during tribunals, and they would knit as the aristocracy came to their end by the guillotine. These women were also one of the most vocal groups during the revolution, and their knitting was a powerful symbol which connected women's labor with a political voice. Other examples included the suffragette movement. I mean, who do you think made all of those sashes? They made them themselves. Mary Lowndes, the designer of the suffragette banners and sashes, wrote in her pamphlet on banners and banner making, "In all the ages it has been the woman's part to make the banners, if not to carry them. The divers colours of needlework, hand-wrought, are coming into play again and now, for the first time in history, to illumine woman's own adventure." This is handicrafts, this is textile crafts used in protest. Prisoners in Nazi concentration camps also used textile arts as a form of resistance. The people that were being held there included socialists, communists, gay, women and men, trans people, disabled and autistic people, sex workers, and homeless people. These were all considered the undesirables at that time, and they were removed from the main part of society and put into concentration camps, where they participated in forced labour, slavery, and ultimately many millions of them were killed. Jewish people, as well as the other many varied people who were kept prisoner in the concentration camps, were forced to do very difficult labour. And some of that labour was textile work, like making soldiers' uniforms and knitting socks for soldiers. What you may not know is that they also had a special dressmaker's salon at Auschwitz. A small group of Jewish women worked within that salon 10, 12-hour days, making beautiful couture-level garments for Berlin and Germany's elite women. These Jewish women knew that they had a privileged place in this place, though their work was incredibly grueling and difficult. They didn't have to do the outdoor roll calls. They were in a much safer place in that incredibly dangerous and horrific place. This didn't stop them from using their unique position to smuggle messages outside of the concentration camp. Likewise, as a small form of protest, The people in the camps who were knitting the socks for the soldiers in the German army often sabotaged their mates, tightening the heel, skipping a stitch in the toe, the result of which was often blisters. The leader of the knitters was a political prisoner who had been in prison for many years. She said that it was because of her that the Germans lost at Stalingrad. She'd found a way to knit the socks, which meant that the soldiers got sores on their heels. In this way, textiles became a silent protest against fascism and oppression. One of the most early examples of textile-related activism was the khadi in India, which was led by Mahatma Gandhi. Khadi is a cotton-woven fabric that became part of the resistance against colonial rule from the British. By promoting self-sufficiency through their own textile production and the rejection of British-made goods, Gandhi's emphasis on spinning khadi became part of the resistance against imperialism and cultural exploitation, as well as economic defiance of British imperial rule. The khadi movement was able to connect people from urban, rural, and industrial environments as one people united under this homemade textile creation, which transformed the acts of spinning and weaving into a political gesture of autonomy and defiance. Women's work in textiles has always been both a visible and invisible form of resistance. The Mothers of Plaza de Mayo are an Argentine women's rights organization which began in 1977, who demanded justice for their children who were disappeared during Argentina's military dictatorship. They held weekly vigils in the Plaza de Mayo in front of the presidential palace in Buenos Aires, wearing their white embroidered headscarves as powerful symbols of resistance. Originally, mothers would embroider the names of their children who had disappeared as a remembrance for them. They embroidered names and symbols, and then they displayed those works in public places, calling to find the disappeared, to represent that they had been taken, and also to call for justice for their loved ones. This practice in crafting became part of a larger resistance movement.
Saving money feels right.
Brother.
Just like when
I'm trying to learn.
Ndebele women's traditional beadwork and wall paintings has long been a form of cultural expression and tradition. The Ndebele people were significantly marginalised by the apartheid in South Africa. The apartheid was the institutionalised racial segregation that existed in South Africa and Southwest Africa, which is now Namibia, from between 1948 to the 1990s. This gave the law the right to discriminate against people as a class system based on their ethnicity. The Ndebele people used their bold geometric and geographic design to assert their identity and resist cultural erasure. These colourful expressions were often woven or embroidered into textiles, which helped maintain cultural pride and solidarity under extreme oppression. The act of crafting became a collective form of resistance against the apartheid's racial segregation and oppressive system. These were a visible and practical assertion of Ndebele's people's culture and pride in that. Throughout the Black Lives Matter protest and movement, many people used textile crafts to create flags, slogans, t-shirts, and create buttons so that they could use their voice to promote equality and to denounce the evils of racism around the world against people of color, particularly where there is an extreme socioeconomic divide between those different people. It was also a protest against the brutality of law enforcement against minorities, peoples without personal power. I think for me, the best part of craftivism is that it is a practical and community building way of engaging with issues that are important to all of us. It's also a way to perform activism that is of service and of use to other people. Many of the items created in the name of craftivism have also been used to help other people. After the devastating 2020 bushfires, huge amounts of crafters and people in the community got together and they created pouches and useful items to help the enormous numbers of animals who were injured during that devastating bushfire. We also got together to create masks during the global pandemic to try and create protection for ourselves, our neighbours and our friends. Likewise, initiatives like the Red Scarf Project created scarves for the Orphan Foundation of America. This scarf is created not only to help a social issue, but also to show the person who receives it that someone in the world cares about them and their life enough to create something, to hand make something with love for them. During the American and worldwide AIDS HIV crisis, a giant and incredible quilt was made by the mourners of the victims of that crisis. This is considered the largest community project ever in history, and it is an incredibly important piece that celebrates the lives and memorializes those who were victims of the AIDS crisis. This quilt contains roughly 50,000 panels which are dedicated to more than 110,000 individual people who died during this tragedy. This epic testimony to the beautiful lives of those people who were unfortunately taken from us weighs approximately 54 tons. The creation of items for gender-affirming care, things like packers and binders, can be incredibly important for those who are struggling with gender dysphoria and who do not have access to gender-affirming care through medical means. These items that can be made and used by the incredibly tiny minority of people who are trans or non-binary and can be a powerful symbol of allyship. Textiles offer a space for women to reclaim their identities, their liberation, and their independence. It also allows us to challenge systems of oppression. This can include our own individual oppression and our rights, as well as that of us as a labour force, and also the destruction of our world, our environment. The pussy hat was created not only to protest the words said by the Cheeto about grabbing women without their consent in a violent way. These were disgusting remarks that remind us that he is a convicted criminal and the reasons why he is a convicted criminal. It also demonstrates the power of of unifying women against these acts of violence against us. This kink hat also became a really strong symbol of the Me Too movement. Most women have been harassed or violated in some way in all forms of our lives. If you're neurodivergent, this number continues to rise. At least 90% of neurodiverse women, and thus this hat, the protest that it went to, became an important symbol of women's unity and the power women hold when we work together. Modern craftivism really gained traction during the late 20th and early 21st century, mostly because of its ability to be accessible and adaptable. Craftivism emphasizes the individual.
I think a lot of Western white women have the time and privilege in it, which, I mean, it's great for them to participate in their political activism in that way if they resonate and have the skills and can reconnect with themselves in that fashion. But like, it do take some time and some skills, so it's not that accessible to the every accommodating person who doesn't know how to do this. I do think you have to have some background and some familiarity with this to even participate. So I do wonder if marginalized and frontline communities can even be part of this, because when I was looking at that protest, it'd be looking like it was a lot of Caucasian looking people. So, and the only person they showed in that photo that didn't have a pussy hat on was like African American-ish looking. So it kind of lets you know that some people may just gravitate more towards knitting than others. But if there's inclusive stitch and bitches, if there's inclusive craftivism, I think it's worthwhile. I do think I'm gonna come out with a YouTube video on this because I find it very interesting. So yeah, that was it for that article, and I think she got her point across when I left the video. So to close off the live stream, I do want to talk about what's to come. So what's to come, look forward to a video on my YouTube channel on my time at the Illinois Vintage Market. I went there 2 weeks ago. So that vlog will come out on Sunday. I will also be going live on Tuesday. So from like 4 to 6:30-ish, 7 p.m.-ish Central Time, I'll be on again. And yeah, Wednesday there will be a podcast episode. I am currently working on that as well, and it's pretty much all the updates for me. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active on. So if you want to know more about what's happening in my life, if you want to stay updated on sustainable fashion, I'm always posting stuff there. But that's it for me. Hopefully you guys like the live stream. Let me know what you want to see, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Bye-bye.